afternoon, everyone, and welcome to one of RVN Television's newer shows, What the Why with Barbara Ann. If you're joining us for the first time, our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured it out. So maybe you are sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, or maybe you feel stuck and want to get unstuck, or maybe you're just looking for some new ideas. At some point in our lives, all of our guests have been there. They can definitely empathize with you. So thank you. Whether you found us by accident or on purpose, we really appreciate you joining us. Our guest today is Glenn LaRue Smith, FASLA. So what does FASLA stand for?
That stands for Fellow of the American Society of Landscape Architects.
Okay, and you're going to hear a little bit more about that. Glenn is the co-founder and principal of Push Studio in Washington, D.C. So he's definitely the guest who's traveled the furthest to be with us and with you to tell his story. He is also the immediate past president of the Black Landscape Architects Network, or Black LAN. His work has ranged from private sector garden design to urban waterfronts and community redevelopment to community playgrounds and most recently memorial monument design. He's directed graduate level landscape architecture programs at two historically Black colleges and universities, Florida A&M University and Morgan State University. He's been an invited design charrette critic in major American cities, a juror on architecture and landscape design competitions, a book reviewer, a periodical writer, and in which case he has been a writer for numerous architecture and landscape architecture publications. One of the main reasons he's here today is because since 2010, Glenn has been chronicling the history of Black landscape architects in the United States. As a Mellon Fellow in Urban Landscape Studies, Glenn's work as a fellow, you completed your fellowship in the spring of 2022, but his work continues as he works on a project called Out of the Shadows, Black Landscape Architects, from 1898 to 1965. As part of this research, Glenn chronicles the cultural climate, areas of practice, and significant accomplishments of Black graduates of landscape architecture programs in the United States, of which there are not as many as one would hope there would be, and part of Glenn's mission is to change that. He holds a Master, MLA, stands for?
Masters of Landscape Architecture.
Master of Landscape Architecture degree from the University of Michigan and a Bachelor of Landscape Architecture degree from Mississippi State University. He's also a Loeb Fellow, Harvard Graduate School of Design graduate. Am I getting that correctly?
Yeah, it's a one-year fellowship.
It's a one-year fellowship program, okay. Where he focused on environmental justice, which is also something that I and others are very passionate about as well. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Glenn LaRue Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. And like I said, you've traveled the furthest of our guests to tell your story, so I really appreciate you taking the time to make the journey on our extensive budget for show production. As I shared with you when we were talking before the show, I don't know if this is what you imagined you wanted to be when you grew up.
No,
yes.
Not by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah.
So you grew up in Mississippi. So what did young Glenn LaRue Smith, growing up in Mississippi, want to be when he grew up initially?
I wanted to be an artist.
Okay.
And my parents, being the great Black parents that they were, said, oh, well, you know, you can't make a living being an artist. You really should go into a profession. So I ended up at Mississippi State University as an engineering graduate,
Oh,
engineering student.
okay.
And after the first semester, my professor called me in and he said, you know, Mr. Smith, I don't think you're going to make it as an engineer. And I couldn't have been happier because I was not interested in engineering at all. So, so I went through the university catalog and I found landscape architecture. I'd never heard of it before. And I met with the professors and they were very receptive and accepting and explained the whole profession to me, and I decided this is something I wanted to do.
Wow.
And that's how I got into landscape architecture.
Okay. So from artist to engineer to landscape architecture.
Yeah.
And
That's pretty much the trajectory for a lot of landscape architects.
which is kind of related to my next question. I was going to
Yeah.
say, it's not a field that has a lot of diversity in it, which is part of what's changing now, with the support of the association at large as well. So I'm curious as to what it was about landscape architecture that caught your eye in particular.
Well, landscape architecture is an art and a science. And so there were the courses, I wanted to be an artist, but there were courses in the art department, there were courses in grading and drainage in the engineering department, so it was very cross-disciplinary in terms of the types of projects and courses that we taught. So I liked that about it, and I think that's why in my career I've done so many different things. I've worked in private practice, I've worked in public practice, I've worked in the academic arena, and that's because the training of a landscape architect is very, very diverse.
Mm-hmm. And you've taught landscape architecture at well, in several different
many
roles.
many
yes.
universities, yeah.
And while you were doing that, you were also still doing landscape architectural projects on the side.
Yeah, I've always, you know, in addition to landscape architecture being an art and a science, for me, writing is very important. And I was, at one point, I was offered honors English in undergraduate school, and my professor felt that because of my writing skills, I should go into English and writing. And I didn't think of it at the time as creative and enterprise, as drawing and painting. So, but I always maintained an interest in it. So I think that's what drew me to the academic arena within landscape architecture, is that I could work within all the broader canvas of all the elements, you know, from writing to research to designing landscapes, and so that's why my career has been so diverse, because I have diverse interests.
Which is awesome, because no day is the same.
No day is the same. No year is the same. So it's been, yeah, it's been great, and that's why I got into, you know, doing book reviews for publications, writing articles. Most recently, I wrote an article which makes the point that because of all the mass shootings, and well, in particular, the killing of black youth by police, and the parents of those kids wanting to create memorials, that it was that there's this issue of public space, and how do you create memorials when you have when these murders happen in public space. So, and that sort of harkens back to my interest in environmental justice. So I feel that this new focus on memorials really is part of a new arm of or movement in environmental justice.
Okay. Now, for those who are watching us today that may not know what environmental justice is, and it's a very real issue, could you please explain about what environmental justice is, briefly?
Yeah, sure. In its genesis, environmental justice is really about point source pollution. For example, a wastewater treatment plant in a underserved neighborhood that emits noxious fumes, and citing those noxious sorts of industries within Black and brown communities. So that's the genesis of environmental justice. And so I like to expand the definition of that to include any issues that disenfranchise Black and brown and other any community that's that doesn't have the wherewithal or a voice to prevent these sorts of things.
Because it can be illegal dumping, both in urban and rural areas.
Yes, exactly.
New Jersey has so many different landfills in areas that have concentrations of population that definitely constitute environmental justice. We've had issues in Trenton that's actually been studied by Princeton based on use of coal and how that affected asthma rates in the community. And a lot of those projects were built at times, we'll stick it there because they need the jobs, they need the money, without really thinking through the ramifications of what that could do to the health and the welfare of people in that immediate area.
Exactly.
Or if there's a toxic spill in certain areas, what that does to ecosystems and things like that. So it's, for me, I think it's fantastic. I imagine some of our other viewers, some of whom may even have been affected by some of the things in their own communities,
I'm sure.
Are really interested in this topic. Well, the lead contamination, the water, that in of itself.
Michigan and other states, yeah.
So thank you so much for making that as part of your mission. What was it like, though, because we talked a little bit about the fact that even now, diversity, while improving, still is not really consistent with what the population is. So what was it like for you to go through the experience of really being one of the earlier entrees into the official architectural landscape industry?
That's a very good question, and for me, it wasn't as difficult as one might assume, and I credit my parents for giving me the I don't know, the stamina, the sort of understanding who I am and that I can do anything I want to do. So I was the first African American to graduate from Mississippi State University's landscape architecture program.
Wow.
And my class was all white, except for me, and two women, and who remain friends of mine to this day. And I think we created this synergy because we were, they were two women. I was the only Black. You
were the three people
out.
Yeah,
we were the three amigos, and so to speak. But I have to say, in Mississippi in the 1970s, I had great relationships with all my students, all the faculty members, and I have to say it was a really good experience. Now and then there were racial things that happened, mostly off the campus, not on the campus.
They treated you with respect of the other students.
Yeah, it was. It to this day, it really still amazes me that happened that early on, and I was one of the, I don't know, first 100 or 200 African Americans who graduated from Mississippi State University at the time. So, in that sense, I've just had the inner strength to push through whatever adversity may have come my way based on the fact that I was the only one in the room. And but my feeling was always that I may be the only one in the room, but I don't need you to accept me. I know what I'm doing, and I'm confident in my own abilities and myself.
Yeah. And believe it or not, it's already time for a break.
Oh, is it?
I know it's so, but I do want to talk more about that, because part of what you're doing now is making sure you're not the only one in the room, and also you've been researching those who did actually come before, but have essentially not been acknowledged in history, in mainstream history, and you're making steps to help correct some of that. So
Exactly.
We're going to come back after this break and hear more from Glenn LaRue Smith and what he's doing in the architectural landscape field. Welcome back to What the Why with Barbara Ann and today's special guest, Glenn LaRue Smith. Before the break, we were talking about how Glenn was actually the first African American from Mississippi State to graduate as a landscape architect, but there's been other landscape architects before Glenn, and part of your mission also is to ensure that even more young people pursue this as an option for their careers. So you've been doing work on a project that I mentioned earlier, Out of the Shadows, Black Landscape Architects, from 1898 to 1965. And you shared with me some of them are still alive.
Yes.
Based on the time frame. So what are you doing as part of this project?
The project is all about bringing those Black landscape architects who've been around for many, many years, but no one knows, the general population of landscape architects in schools don't learn about them. So I think it's important that the next generation of Black landscape architects who are coming through the system now really know about it's sort of like their roots, like any family, understanding what who are your people, in a sense. And so this project is looking at starting in 1898, yes.
Yes. Yeah, you said it right. You're good.
David Williston, who graduated from Cornell University, is known to be the first Black landscape architect who's graduated from a university. And he went on to work on the master plan of Howard University's campus.
Okay.
He did work and taught at Tuskegee University. And then around the reason I'm stopping at 1965 is because around the 1960s, there began to be an increase of Blacks entering landscape architecture in schools around the country. But before I go further, I just want to say that part of this is the Black Landscape Architects Network that I founded, starting back in 2010, but we were incorporated as a 501c3 nonprofit in 2020. That was also to help nurture new Black landscape architects, and so that because they're dispersed all over the country, and it's usually one student in a program at the University of Wisconsin, one student at the University of Georgia, and so this creates a community for them. So this project, Out of the Shadows, kind of is linked to that whole effort of creating more knowledge, not only for Black landscape architects, but for landscape architects and the profession as a whole. Through the Black Landscape Architects Network, we've launched our first scholarship to support, because we're very interested in supporting Black landscape architects at universities and making sure that they can maintain a presence in the program and not have to worry about financial issues as much. So last spring, we launched the first we provided the first two scholarships. And the scholarship is named after Edward Lyons Price, who is a landscape architect who was a campus planner at Tuskegee University.
I have to say that name actually sounded familiar to me, and
Yeah.
I don't remember us talking about him. So I'm like, wow, okay, I actually a name I recognize.
Yeah, and so he was quite a good prolific landscape architect and painter and sculptor. And so through his two daughters who are still living, we created a relationship, and they were the two people who funded the first two scholarships.
Wow.
Because they were just excited about being able to have their father's legacy move forward. And actually, one of his daughters, Marilyn Hoyt, who still lives in Tuskegee, said that before her father died, one of the things that he wanted, he told her, was that don't let my legacy be forgotten. And so she's very appreciative that the Black Landscape Architects Network has taken up her father's name on this scholarship. So so we continue to build. We continue to work with the American Society of Landscape Architects.
That was going to be my next question, because they've really supported a lot of what you've been doing, as I understand it.
Yes, they have. They've been very supportive. It took some time. We were sort of, 10 years. We were, sort of out there doing the work of trying to create this community, but we weren't getting much interest from different organizations. And my philosophy is, if you wait, if you do great things, they will come. And so that's exactly what happened. And now we collaborate with the American Society of Landscape Architects whenever possible. They run a lot of our videos and features through the article I was telling you about involving public space and memorials and environmental justice. They republished that article of mine in the magazine.
So as allies, they help to amplify the message.
They do, and so it's great. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention their new CEO, who's also an African American, Tori Carter Conan. And he's been a great supporter, as well as their head of diversity, Lisa Jennings, has also been very supportive of our work. And I have to also give a shout out to the executive board of the Black Landscape Architects Network. It's a group of 9 young people who are doing great work. And I gave up the presidency. I was the initial president of the organization, but I felt like it was time to give the younger generation the opportunity to move things forward. Fresher ideas than mine. And
no, it's interesting because, like you said, you went through school, you had an otherwise positive experience, you graduated, you were in the first of the class. I mean, you could have just gone on and been successful and not worried about trying to lift anybody else up.
Yeah.
What was it that lit the fire in you to make sure that you weren't the only one?
I think it's because throughout my career, I've had people who weren't necessarily African American. It's like a Jewish. I was one of the first 30 black students to integrate the high school, the all-white high school in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and that was a very different experience in the sense that students wouldn't walk on the same side of the hallway with you. They wouldn't sit next to you in the classroom. And there was a Jewish English teacher who said to me one day, "I've seen what's been happening, things will change." And that was, you know, for me, that was mentorship. It was a very simple set of sentences.
She saw you.
She saw me. And throughout my career, I've had that sort of mentorship. And I've always sought out mentors. And they didn't have to be landscape architects. They were just people who were concerned about my well-being and saw whatever potential they saw potential in me. And so that's why I have this mission to help others and to mentor. So I mentor quite a few Black landscape architects. And as a matter of fact, last Thursday I was at an awards event for the Black, no, not for the Black, but it's called the Landscape Architecture Foundation, and they were honoring Elizabeth Kennedy, who's a Black landscape architect in New York. And I made sure that a Black student from the University of Maryland had a ticket to come to this event and meet Elizabeth and meet some of the other Black landscape architects. So whenever I can, I try to create those opportunities for not only Black students, any student, but in particular, it really is my mission to bring more Black students into the profession with comfort and an understanding that people have their back.
Yeah. And representation leads to inspiration.
Exactly.
So, believe it or not, we're at time already.
Oh God!
Half hour flies. Seriously.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Well, thank you
for coming all this way, for telling your story. Maybe we'll even have you back again when your research is concluded and you can tell us more about the research work that you're doing. What is the best way for people to connect with you?
The best way is, I think, really through the organization, Black Landscape Architects Network, at info@blacklanetwork.org.
Okay. And then they can also search you on LinkedIn as well.
Yes, I have.
All right. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Hi, viewers. As you know, I usually announce the guests for our upcoming episode. But we might have a change up next week, so you're going to have to tune in to find out who our guest is. What I can tell you is the following week, we have an interesting, very young leader. Her name is Ariel Rankern. She's a National Honor Society recipient and member, and is soon to be high school graduate from Bayonne High School in New Jersey. So if you have younger members of your family that might be interested in hearing her story, as well as you, please do tune in. Ariel has conquered seemingly impossible odds to choose a different path for herself and succeed when so many others might not have. Her journey is inspirational, and it is only just now beginning. So suffice to say, you really do not want to miss any of our upcoming shows as our guests share their journeys in upcoming episodes about how they figured out their why. As a reminder, our show airs on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. and Mondays at 3:30 p.m. and is also available on demand through RVN Television site as well as Roku. So whether you're looking to make changes in your life or career, big or small, please join us again for more inspirational and informative conversations with people such as Glenn, who wanted to make changes and overcame whatever fears or obstacles may have been in their paths to find their purpose and live it.